Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of MGR Unplugged. I'm here with David. We're pretty loaded today with a lot of topics. It's amazing how many things happen in a week, even when nothing is happening. We actually have a topic that we forgot to discuss last week with Quibi, and then obviously we're gonna have some coronavirus updates. Not so much on the disease itself, but on the economic updates, and then. We'll discuss a little more things about stimulus packages and pretty much everything in between. So let's get started.
None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
All right, welcome back. I was having a little conversation with David during the break about how fast days are going now, even though we don't have a whole lot of things going on. But how are these going for you?
Yeah, see, to me, I don't think the days are necessarily going faster. Obviously, they literally are not going faster. Time did not, the continuum did not change.
All right, there's no into physics now.
But, no, I mean, because when you're busy working, days can fly by too. But to me, it's more of the days and weeks all just blend together.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's what it
I
is.
think a lot of people have been like, oh, it's the weekend. Okay.
Yeah, same
I'm
thing.
just home. There's no difference. Like,
No, I know. It just, to me, they go fast, but it's a different routine. Now, I was actually thinking yesterday, obviously, I had a different routine where we were like in the normal days of work and afternoons, evenings, things that I do. Usually in the afternoons, I go out, have a coffee, maybe do some research, do a lot of reading, writing, things like that. Now, basically, everything I do at home. So I need to be a little more disciplined into, okay, I'm working, and obviously I'm working a lot of projections and things that we can do and trying to plan for the future. But then, yeah, I still do quite a bit of reading in the evenings. And I don't know. I mean, I just feel like, but then I'm also doing a lot of other projects that I wanted to do. I'm working a lot on my car. I'm working on the, in the yard things. Everybody has like more projects that they are now, you don't have an excuse to say, I don't have time to do that,
right. Like for me, personally, what I've been doing is, obviously it's not like, we're still working, but it's the load is less than it was previously. And so what I've been doing is saying, okay, I want to read more and I want to kind of do, I don't know how you say it, in a personal development, but I hate that. I hate that term.
Self-improvement.
Yeah, I hate that term. But I just want to basically, I always used to mentally kind of give myself the excuse of, I don't have enough time to read and learn and do all these things. And so now what I've been doing is treating that as like, okay, so during the day now, I will literally say, okay, if I'm not working on work, then I can't just waste that time. I'm going to spend that time. I'm going to spend an hour reading and then another hour researching this thing that I wanted to learn about, or things like that, so that it's, even though I'm not doing my normal work, I'm still kind of being more regimented and saying, I'm going to use this time productively. It's actually been pretty good, honestly.
Do you feel like it's getting to a point where people are just kind of like, I wouldn't say fed up, even though a lot of people are pretty much fed up with this situation, but like people are going to say, what the fuck? I mean, summer is coming, and obviously in Arizona it's going to get hot, but in other places where the weather is being cold and all that, it's starting to be nice. People like to go outdoors and everything, that they're just kind of lowering their guard a little bit and saying, it is what it is. I just need to live my life, because they start thinking that.
I think fed up is, I don't know. I mean, yeah, obviously no one likes to be like just trapped at home all day, 24/7, kind of indefinitely, because no one really knows when we're going to go back to normal again. But I think also that is a bit selfish, or very selfish in my opinion, because it's one thing is if you're fed up because, I lost my job and now I don't know how to pay the bills and I want things to reopen because I work in retail or at a restaurant or whatever. That's different. I totally understand. But like for me, okay, we can work from home. Like obviously we're impacted. Everybody's impacted, but I'm not worried about making rent like a lot of people are, And so for me, even though selfishly it's like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, I'd like life to go back to normal. I just put things in perspective and be like, you know what? I have it much better than a lot of people, so I'm not gonna complain about anything. And if the hardest thing about this for me is that, oh, okay, I can't go out as much as I want to, but as far as my regular life, I don't have like major financial burdens and stuff, then I don't think I have room to complain.
But it's not just the obviously the financial aspect is a key factor for obviously. I mean, just this morning they announced 5.5 more million filings for unemployment, which brings the total tally to about 22 million really now, in just 4 weeks. So that's a huge number of people that have lost their jobs in 4 weeks, basically, when they were perfectly confident 4 weeks ago that their jobs were fine because the economy
there's
was
how
doing
many
well.
workers in the U.S.? About 180 million, roughly.
Yeah, 60, 80, yeah, something
And
like
so
that.
there's like 180 million. Obviously, I think the official is 160, and then they say unofficially 180, but
yeah.
it's hard to tell. But let's call it 180 million.
But 22 million.
If 22 million,
But
that's
those are
basically what is that, like 13% and 12%?
Yeah, but that
now?
is just the ones that have filed for unemployment. Now, there might be other people that are actually unemployed that they haven't even filed for unemployment, which are not even part of the number. But the bottom line is that we have a fifth of the U.S. workforce right now, if not more, that is unemployed and either relying on unemployment or basically, they don't have any source of income other than government aids and things like that. So that's the thing. I mean, financially is a big, challenge for everybody. But at the same time, you start hearing that, Trump supposedly today is going to unveil the plan for reopening the economy or the country, whatever you want to call it, which obviously relies on the different governors of the different states, but he's going to set the guidelines and then he's going to reconvene with each governor of each state, because each state's at different situations within their state, and then see how it can happen. But he's also gathering people from different industries, as you know, from sports, from business, from this and that, trying to see how it can happen. But the bottom line is that I don't think people can survive if they are confined for 60, 90, basically indefinitely, with no end in sight. I think you start getting into a lot of mental issues where people...
Can I say something? And this is going to be a little controversial. People are going to not be happy, but I think people are fucking soft, okay? And I'm not talking about, like I said, if you're a doctor or a nurse on the front lines, or if you're someone who's been laid off and you have no idea how you're going to make your rent, I have 100% sympathy for you. Totally understand. But, like, the people who are like working from home and like their life is mostly
I'm not
normal,
saying, yeah,
but they're like, okay, I have to work from home now and I can't go out, and they're like talking about how it's traumatic. Like I hear the word trauma thrown around.
I'm not referring.
Can we calm down with the word trauma? I
agree.
see that every day.
Yeah.
Like you're not a fucking war vet, okay? Calm down. You had to work from home for 2 months. Oh my God, so sorry. And I know that's not the politically correct thing to say, but I just think people are really soft. Like, okay, life isn't always going to be perfect and easy. You still have it better than 99% of the world. So be grateful for what the position that you're in. I mean, I don't know. That's my view.
I don't sympathize at all with people that are working from home. They're saying, okay, I'm bored at home, but I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, computers, Wi-Fi, whatever. I mean, in a different house, or that's not my issue. I'm talking about like all the people that are now unemployed or even have sick or whatever.
Right, but what I was saying was you said like 60, 90 days like at home. Like it depends what type of at home it is for you. Yeah, if it's at home and you have no job and you're literally like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills next month or this month, that's different. But a lot of people are not necessarily in that position and they're just basically at home, whatever. And they're like crying about it. And I just, to me, it's like, okay, guys,
No, I understand.
Let's
I understand.
harden up a little.
You and I were going before through we're a different generation that in the last pretty much 50 years haven't been through any major crisis.
Right. Nobody
global
around.
crisis. We haven't
nobody
been through
alive
any
now
wars
has
or
really
any.
been through anything super hard, basically, on a global level. Obviously, people have their individual issues, that, of course, but most people and it's fine. That's a good thing, right? We live especially like in the modern world, it's different. But like if you live in the U.S. or Canada or Europe, Australia, life's been pretty good for 50 years plus. And, I was listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan and Eric Weinstein, and Eric Weinstein said exactly kind of...
Weinstein.
Is it Weinstein?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Weinstein. And I recommend people listen to it. It's really good. But he said it kind of exactly what I was thinking, which is that he says, we've been in a 75-year nap since World War II, where things have just been really good. We haven't had any major wars. Yes, there have been some. There's been Cold Wars, but nothing like World War II, obviously, where 100+ million people died. We've had record levels of growth for many, many years. I mean, things have just been good. Poverty has gone way down in the modern world. Crime rates way down. Basically, things have been really good for a long time. And that's a good thing. But it also has put people in a position where even myself, right? Like, I don't know. I think I'm better adapting than a lot of people my age.
Yeah, then we become soft. We
but
don't
like
know.
I've never experienced anything like this. Now I always try to put things in perspective. That's why I don't like to complain about anything, because I'm in a very fortunate position compared to most. So I don't want to complain about anything. But I've never been through anything like this either. I mean, even you who are of a different generation, you've been through more recessions than I have, but you haven't been through anything like this. No one has, basically. No one has. And I just think...
Well, the difference is that in this case, first of all, it's more global. And
right.
Secondly,
it's the biggest global event that's happened
we said
in 75
before,
years.
it didn't start from a financial bubble or anything like that. But secondly, is that there doesn't seem to be enough progress fast enough. Like there's no... Yeah, we can see the curve and we're getting better and all these press
I also
conferences.
think that's a symptom, though, of like... We live in the, quote unquote, instant economy.
Yeah.
Where we're used to things happening like this. I buy something online, it's here tomorrow. All those things. And with the pandemic, it's like, listen, the plague ravaged Europe for 200 years. Okay, they had in Europe, they've gone through 20-year quarantines before. 20 years.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Pandemics don't just go away. Now,
But
obviously,
people don't like. But I don't think people feel better knowing that times were tougher back in the days. I mean, you can go.
Yeah, obviously, that's not. You always want to say, what can we do?
Right.
But at the same time, this idea of like, 30 days and we're back to normal. It's like, okay, that's just not real. That's just not reality. Right. Unfortunately, it is a pandemic.
It's like if a government says we're gonna be in lockdown for 45 to 60 days, people will be like pulling their hair, and that's why no government in any country,
right?
I don't care which one you go to, will say that. They'll say 2-week confinement,
right?
They go in 2-week intervals.
No government has
and
said...
they know from the beginning, because all the scientific information there says that in 2 weeks that nothing is going to change. You don't even have enough time to do testing or anything.
No government has said the truth, which is this will likely last until September. Not like full lockdown how we have it, but as far as most things being shut down and things reopening, I mean, I think we're looking at September. And so, but no government would say that.
I'm coming to a point where I'm looking at as many different sources as I can, and I'm not the kind of person that only hears what I want to hear. Like only listens to sources that tell me what I want to hear. I like to get a wide variety of opinions, good, bad ones, whatever I can think myself. But even now, I don't know who's right. I'm not saying that they're hiding the truth. Is that everybody, even doctors, scientists, virologists, from the white community, Europeans, Americans, you name it, and they all have a different opinion of how this will be coming to an end, if ever. Because now they're saying that maybe it comes back in cycles, like the flu and other stuff, and then when the vaccine is ready, which is still like a year away, it will be merged.
And the other thing that a lot of people are not gauging for is that it's not just what the government is mandating or saying, it's also what people feel comfortable doing.
Right.
I saw a poll that says 2/3 of people say that even if the lockdown ends, that they don't plan on traveling this year because they just don't want to risk it. They don't feel safe traveling. There was another poll that was, I think 62% of Americans said that they don't feel comfortable attending a sporting event for the next 6 months, things like that, where that before it's like basically people are like, you know what, I don't want to be on a plane, I don't want to be in a crowded stadium, it sucks, but I'll push my vacation to next year. What, like, a lot of people are just saying, you know what, for 2020 maybe I won't.
Well, that's a good point, because I
do
remember
all this thing. So even if it reopens, say September, October reopen, that doesn't mean that people are just going to start traveling and going to stadiums and all that. No, I don't
right,
think
and I'm
so.
sure there will be some kind of regulation saying how many people can attend, and we discussed the
But
health
like I said,
passport
I don't
type
think
thing.
it's just even the government, because even if the government came in 30 days from now and said, hey guys, everything's good to go, you can go back to sports. Like, listen, I'm a big basketball fan, I love the Suns, I would not be going to a Suns game
forget
next month.
sports and recreation, talk about the work. I mean, if you're a teacher, you're a college teacher,
lots of schools have already
university.
said we're not opening this year, not semester year, like the fall semester in fall 2020, we're not going to open. We'll reopen 2021. They've already said that.
Right. So if they say, okay, yeah, this college is open, and then you have a classroom, I mean, there's going to be like one thing you just reminded me of is when we had the 9/11, the terrorist attack, there were a lot of things that were implemented after that still exist.
That's a different discussion.
Yeah,
that a lot of people
it's
are
different. But there's a different. There are things that were implemented back then in terms of security, especially travel security and travel checks and things like that, and obviously a whole different spectrum of anti-terrorist research and everything. But as far as travel, they started implementing new methods for screening passengers and everything that has become commonplace now. I mean, before that, you didn't have to go through all these, pat downs and basically X-ray scanners and everything that we do now, which is pretty common worldwide for any travel. So,
what you think? Like,
even I remember
they'll
even
take your temperature every time you go to the airport for now.
Well, pretty much. I mean, I'm thinking that now, in addition to the security things that we want, because I remember when the shoe bomber or something happened, that they started asking people to take off their shoes. Before, it wasn't something that you had to do.
Right.
That was added later on because of that thing that happened. That the guy had a bomb in his shoe. So now everybody has to take their shoes and put the shoes also through the X-rays and all that stuff. So now with this health issue, we may have to go. You were talking about traveling, that people say, "Oh, I'm not going to get on a plane." Well, you may go on a plane and be perfectly safe. Maybe they have to start checking people, check your temperature. They put you on a little thermometer thing and say, "Okay, you have a fever." I know when I travel, I know people that are sick around me. I just try to stay away. I mean, obviously, it's not the virus, but it'll be flu. It'll be something. You see people that are sniffing.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's very common. Lots of people get sick when they travel, just because.
No, but not get sick when they travel. They travel already being sick. Like I've been,
or like I've been traveling not sick at all, and then I'm come in contact, whether it's at the airport, on a plane, whatever, and then I get sick basically after I travel.
Yes,
that's
even more common. But I'm talking about when you actually get on a plane,
right,
and you are already
if I have
sick.
a business trip scheduled, and then that morning I wake up with a bit of a cold. It's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna still go. I'm not gonna cancel
or a
my
fever
trip.
or something. You say, okay, well, bad luck, whatever. I'm gonna have to.
Right.
But nobody screens you for that.
Right.
Well, now they may start screening you for a fever and saying they put a little thermometer and you are with more than a certain number of degrees or above normal. They say, sorry, you can't travel.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. I mean, who knows? That's the minimum effect. The other one.
No, I know. That's
the
a
other
different
effect
topic.
is that they actually do a quick test that they call, where they do a little prick.
I don't
take
like
your
that.
blood.
I don't want to give
well,
my...
nobody likes anything.
Yeah, but we're gonna start taking people's blood when they go to the airport now.
I don't know. What if it happens? I mean, will you stop traveling? I mean, it's just a health check. I mean, I will feel comfortable. I mean,
No, but that's how
invasion of privacy and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I understand.
they already make
Well,
you go through X-ray scanners and
Okay,
pat you down.
all right.
and-
So let me ask you something. When you do a TSA, the Transportation and Safety Authority or something, they basically TSA check. One day you have to go through all the whole thing, and then you have the TSA pre-check, which basically allows you to be screened before. So you go through the fast pass type thing at the airport. you submit all the information. The TSA cross references with FBI, some other stuff. They say, okay, this is a safe passenger, so you go fast and you don't have to do all the screening normal process that everybody goes through. So now we can have forget about TSA. Maybe it's part of TSA, but it'll be the health SA or whatever, where you have to go through a health check and commit to a certain health procedure, so you get this and you get your health check ID or something. So you go through and they say, okay, this commits this, and you voluntarily may say, yes, I will submit myself to a check 24 hours before travel. I mean, would you like to be next to a guy that may have it? Because I mean, that's the thing. You say it's selfish for people to say, oh, I want to go out and I'm superhuman, I'm not going to have it, but maybe you're asymptomatic and you give it to somebody else.
I mean, listen, it's always the debate of it's no different than TSA as it is now, where it's like you say, oh, it's an invasion of privacy that they X-ray you and pat you down and all that. But obviously, is that worth the trade-off of like, okay, well, what if someone brings a bomb on your plane?
Well, exactly.
So that's why they do it. There's arguments on both sides.
Right. I mean, when they were doing the full body scan, remember there was a lot of privacy issues and somebody seeing you naked.
Honestly, my biggest problem with that isn't even the naked part. I don't really care that much about that. Is the fact that it literally gives you X-ray radiation and they make you do it.
Yeah.
And it's like
if you travel randomly, it's not a big deal. But if you are a frequent traveler,
but if you're like traveling all the time and you're going, that adds up. That radiation.
It's no different that you go always doing X-rays in a doctor or in your mouth or whatever. Right. Yeah.
I don't have an answer. I mean,
I know I don't either. Like, I don't think the government has it either.
Obviously, I am afraid that a lot of people have said this isn't just my thought, that governments around the world are going to start using this to grab even more power, and just in the same way, a lot of people have talked about basically that there may need to be a quote unquote Patriot Act that we had after 9/11 for the coronavirus. And I certainly disagree.
Yeah, I think that's a little too extreme. And that's something that we had in the US. I'm not sure, each country probably have their own version of a Patriot Act or something, but I don't know. I mean, it's every time you go to a crowded event, like you mentioned, and it could be sporting event, it could be arts, festivals, whatever. This has to be something that when you have like before coronavirus, you're sitting next to a person that is coughing or sneezing or whatever, and you're like, oh, whatever, like gonna try to stay away or something. But now it's like you hear somebody coughing next to you and you're like, you're more suspicious, So either we develop this kind of herd immunity down the road where everybody's being over it, and it's like I don't know, like chickenpox or whatever. It's okay, yeah.
Right, or there's a vaccine.
Yeah, or there's a vaccine or something, So, but in the meantime, I don't know how this will be affecting. I'm not so concerned actually about, like hotels and things. I think hotels can get, they can adapt, to travelers that are going to hotels with extra hygienic measures and distancing and obviously room cleanliness and all these things that make the traveler feel more confident. And when you go to a hotel, really it's like a home away from home, and you can ask, hey, so the moment I come in here, don't touch my room. I'll make my own bed, whatever,
That's what I like doing.
Yeah, I know. Don't change my sheets, nothing. I don't want anybody to come in. I mean, but hotels have a lot of things to that they can do to make the guests feel comfortable that they are safe, because they are also separated, and you only mingle when you want to. But if you want to stay in a hotel, do work, go to the pool, play golf, whatever, all that stuff is not going to affect you. Now, traveling, for example, I personally don't like to travel just because I'm squeezed there with other passengers.
Okay, but what do you think they should do?
Well, I mean, I think I wouldn't be opposed to some kind of health check, to be honest.
What does that mean? Like, okay, when you go to the airport, we're gonna finger prick you and we're gonna test your blood for the coronavirus and these other 15.
No, I don't think the airport is the place, because it will be like super, super slow I mean, right now TSA sometimes is like huge lines just to go through all the whole security, but they may say we need you to go to again, it's part of the testing being available. And when the test becomes readily available, the quick test, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get a test and have it certified or something, and just go through a drive-through 24 hours earlier and say, okay, you have the antibody test or the immunity test,
Okay,
whatever,
what about
and then you have the
this?
test, and then you have your certificate saying, listen, if you travel internationally, like from Europe to the US, you have to have a basically certificate of travel, because there's no visas or anything, but they basically do a little background test or check, and they say, yeah, you're safe to travel, and that lasts for 3 years or something.
What about this? What about what Google's doing, where they're helping the government basically track everybody and all of their movements?
That's
Do you
the
think
tracing.
that's okay?
Well, that's the tracing. Well, they don't track that you are. If somebody's confirmed to be sick, then they will tell you, hey, you've been exposed, you've been close to a person that was sick, so go check
Right, but
yourself.
does now Google and the government have the right to just track everyone's movements at all times?
No, I mean they don't. I don't think they have the rights without permission. For my
But they're
understanding,
doing it.
well,
Because before it used to be,
I'm not sure.
anonymously, where yes, Google obviously and all these services track your location, but they do it on an anonymous basis. Not that they're tracking you personally,
Right.
That they have a mega database that says basically you're just a number in the database, basically, and then you get served ads or whatever, right? Because that's their business model,
Right.
But now they're taking it to a different level where they're matching it to your identity, and now they're saying specifically, you, Manuel, where did you
my
go?
understanding is that at this point it needs to be voluntary. It's not that they do it. You need to allow it.
Yeah, but
yourself.
it's allowed by default.
No. Well, I don't know if it's now implemented or not. I'm not familiar with that, but I know that
I
they've
mean,
been
all
looking into that.
every device you use tracks you by default. You have to
Yeah,
turn it off.
they track. They don't track you like you said, Manuel. They
No,
track.
but that's the difference. Now they're tracking you.
No, they're not, because you need to sign off on that. So, and that goes into constitutional rights and privacy and all that stuff. So you need to say, yes, I volunteer to be told if I'm close to a person that has tested positive or has been infected or something, so I know. And then when you do that,
Okay,
basically,
so what if the new modified Patriot Act says, okay, well, now we're going to track you by your identity, and we have the right to do that?
yeah, that's a whole different.
Would you agree with that?
No, I mean I don't want people's liberties to be taken away, but but back to the travel situation that we're talking about, I don't think it's bad if TSA or whatever, just like now they do a background check, and then you need to be basically clean to be able to get on the plane.
But that's forever, or just for the next 18 months?
Well, until there's a solution, I'm not sure. That's my concern. That, like I said,
Do you think that they'll do that for 18 months and then just stop?
well, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think so.
But
I think once they do that, they never stop.
Well, that was my concern. That after 9/11, they implemented certain security methods or security procedures before getting on a plane, and those have been even expanded over time. So 9/11 was 2001. We're in 2020, almost 20 years later. We still have the same procedures that were implemented, even more, to have security when you get on a plane. So that set a new benchmark for travel by plane. Before, you used to go to the airport half an hour earlier, check your luggage, get on the plane, check your passport. Yes, it's you. You're good to go. Now it's a whole different thing. So I'm kind of concerned if now you have the security check and the health check. Now, whether the health check happens at the airport or if it's something that you had to do before. Like we're talking about the wristbands, the colors, that you are recovered or not recovered. Those are things that are really being being considered right now. Now, your freedom is that you say, okay, I'm not going to travel by plane. I'm just going to...
Right, you always have the choice not to travel by plane.
Right.
But,
So...
But what... Okay, but my question is, okay, maybe we all agree, all right, for the next 12, 18 months, until this is totally solved, maybe we agree to do that as a society. But then do you really think that after 18 months
No,
they're
I
going to
mean,
stop?
if this becomes a thing of the past, just like flu...
Yeah, but then the argument is going to be, I can already tell you the argument. The argument's going to be, okay, well, this was one virus, but we know that there's going to be more in the future.
Well, there will be more,
So we're
but-
going to do this indefinitely to prevent it.
I think that would be a lame excuse to continue. I mean, people... Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, because I think... I mean, these viruses are... Again, they are...
They're going to say, I mean, if I'm playing devil's advocate, right? If I'm the government or the government. That's very broad. But basically, if I'm trying to make the argument, I basically will say, well, look at how fast this virus spread throughout the world because we had global travel. Even though we shut down travel from China pretty early, it was already in Europe, and then it came from Europe and came to the U.S., and we have such global travel that it's just, unless you shut things down almost immediately, it's hard to stop the spread. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have these health checks forever, and basically you're not allowed to travel if you're not passing these health checks. That's the argument.
No, I understand.
And it's for the good of the people.
No, I understand. But I think there's a lot of things in between. That's the black, and you have the white, and there's a whole gray scale. And you may say, just like in defense.
Yeah, but
if
I told you...
Hold on. But in defense, you have like from DEFCON 1 to DEFCON 5. You don't go from war fine to basically war or the edge of war. You have different levels. So if there's another scare, so let's say that this happens again. Let me make this argument. Let's say that this happens again in 3 years, and we have the same exact situation where there's a rumor that something came from China, from any other country, and they're spreading, nobody listens to it, whatever. Then you go into health DEFCON 1 or 2, and then you say, okay, now we have a process or a procedure in place where we say, hey, there's an alarm out there about this possibility. So for the next 3 months, we're going to implement this situation. So we catch it. We have a circuit breaker before it happens. Mm-hmm. And then if nothing happens, you're fine. If it indeed happens like this time, then you continue until it's over. And then if it's over, you take it off. You implement these emergency procedures as needed, but you already have them in place. You don't have to improvise. You don't have to create them or anything. So you say, okay, well, if we already had this in place before, and we heard back in December, January, hey, this virus in China is growing, and there's a lot of international travel. As we know, that a lot of people from China went from Iran to Italy to some places in Seattle and other stuff, and that's where it started spreading. And then we have those situations. Then we already implemented this. Just like we banned travel from China, or President Trump banned travel from China at the end of January, you can say, okay, from now on, globally, every traveler is going to have to go through this extra security check or health check.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Right. So but you do it only when it's needed. But how do you
know when it's needed?
Well, because we have organizations that will be warning us.
They did a great job.
Well, no, obviously they didn't, but we knew there was something. They just didn't know or didn't tell us how grave the situation was. They didn't even know themselves. But
so then why do you rely on them?
Well, because the moment there's an alarm, it's like it happens in different situations of life. I mean, you can have a person breaking into your house, and the cops come, and you have an alarm system, and they check it out, and maybe there's nothing. It's a false alarm, or maybe there's somebody in your house, and then they have a whole different procedure. So you can have a system in place where you say, okay, we're in a DEFCON 1 or DEFCON 2 for this, and we start implementing certain measures where everybody has to travel with a mask.
I have a feeling that once those things get put into place, that they're not going to stop doing them.
Well, that's
like if I had told you before 9/11 had happened that, hey, you're not going to be able to fly unless you go through these X-ray screenings, you would have said I was crazy. Before 9/11.
Oh, before 9/11?
Yeah, you would have said that's crazy.
Of course.
But in the same way that now if I tell you, oh, no, you have to pass a certain health check before you can fly anymore, you would say, you're crazy.
They found a flaw in the system. I mean, you remember 9/11 was basically the terror.
Okay, but a flaw in the system is, hey, we check people for bombs, but we don't check them for a disease.
Well, I mean...
And really, the likelihood, I mean, if you look at it from a pure logic standpoint, the likelihood someone has a bomb is very low compared to the likelihood someone is carrying a disease.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So they say we should be
Unfortunately, we live in a world where before it was unheard of that, I mean, I remember flying and the captain door, the cockpit was open. The captain would come out, hey, how you folks doing? Blah, 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 all that chatting and all that stuff. They were coming back and forth. Now they're like a vault. They close it and it's done. Why? Because the terrorists got into the cockpit, took over the plane, and then they flew into the World Trade Center. Nobody thought that people were going to do that. Now these guys did it. And that's why they started implementing those procedures where, okay,
right. And nobody thought, or at least people thought, but we weren't prepared for a virus that could spread so fast.
I know.
We're fortunate in this case where the virus is, as bad as it is, it's much less deadly than we've had other viruses in the past. And so what if next time, instead of the virus basically only killing old people, it just kills everybody? Then what do you do?
Well, that's the biological warfare that we've been discussing for a long time too. I mean,
the unique thing about this virus is that kids are fine. Normally viruses kill old people and kids a lot. And in this case, it seems like most
It doesn't kill the kids so much. I mean, there's some exceptions, but they do spread it. That's the issue.
but they don't die. Like
Yeah.
imagine if it, because normally when you look at viruses, the people who are most at risk are young kids and older people. And in this case, for whatever reason, younger kids are normally fine. Like the death rate's very low, luckily, and that's great. But that's not the usual case. Could you imagine if it was the same exact spread, but instead of just old people dying, it was also kids 6 and under were dying at the same rate, where you have like 20% of them dying, like you have people in their 80s? That would be a global catastrophe.
I mean, right
and
now
we're fortunate.
The eldest of the elderly are more risk.
And so, but the argument could be, we are actually lucky that, yes, while it's super contagious, it's not that deadly compared to a lot of other viruses that could have been much more deadly.
Yeah.
And they say, we need to put all these precautions in place. And so now you're not allowed to fly unless you pass a health check.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I just trying to anticipate what will happen. I mean,
I think it's going to happen. I don't agree with it, but
when
I think
you
it's gonna happen.
when you reopen the economy, I mean, countries are going to have. I mean, you cannot live off of the government money, which still is very sporadically spread, and it's not going to be enough. I mean, we're getting into a whole discussion with the effective UBI, universal basic income, that we're having these days, where people are being paid not to work. How much the country can afford that, or each country? I mean, we discussed about the printing money part. So,
wow.
But before I get you started with that, because I know that's a hot topic for you.
Well, I was just going to say, I wasn't going to go into a rant. I was just going to say, the U.S. can't necessarily afford it, but because we're the global power and we're the reserve currency, we might get away with it. No one else can afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
Europe can't afford it.
So basically, people need to get out and work. Some jobs are, and for people to get out and work means that other people get out and enjoy whatever those guys are working on. So if I go and can work on a theme park, that means that people are coming to the theme park and visiting Disneyland, or going traveling, or going to a concert, or going shopping, or going to the mechanic shop, or just going around with their lives. So that means that everybody's going to have to get back out to work. How do you do that safely? We're basically saying separation, confinement, distancing, social distancing, all that stuff. So there has to be some kind of transition where people go out feeling confident that say, okay, well, now I'm going out with a little more safety or security measures than I did before, whether it's to my grocery store or traveling. And I slowly, but over time, I get back to my normal life.
That's why I think you use a health pass of some kind.
Right. That's what.
And I think that's okay temporarily.
Yeah.
I just think that the only fear is that then you're going to have some longer term, way after this is over, health checks that are mandatory by the government.
Yeah, I hope not. But I think those once this thing is under control, I think it's going to be probably 12 months before there's some kind of formal vaccine that has been tested that can be used. Vaccines take like years and years to be.
The vaccine is, I'm scared of a vaccine. I would almost rather, honestly, because I'm not an at-risk group.
Get sick and
get sick, get the antibodies, and be fine. Because the problem with vaccines, because this is a super sensitive topic, because there's so much controversy before this even happened with the anti-vaxxers. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Obviously, I think, listen, vaccines have done tremendous for the world, curing polio, lots of diseases that used to ravage us, and now they don't anymore in the modern world. But the reason why there is, and I think the anti-vaxxers are way too extreme, but the reason why there is people who are anti-vaccine, or at least in some cases, is because there have been many cases where there's severe negative side effects to vaccines, and especially in a case like this, where you just push it out as fast as can in 12 to 18 months. You just don't know the long-term side effects. But I would be afraid to get that vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, we like with the flu, for example, there's different strains that happen every year, and they come up with the flu shot or the flu vaccine based on what is the combination of
but
the
even flu, I'll tell you, I stopped getting flu shots because I got flu shots 2 years in a row, And I've never gotten the flu in my life. I don't know why. Maybe I have a strong immune system, whatever. I've never gotten the flu in my life. The only 2 times where I've ever gotten the flu, really sick, was both times I got the flu shot. For the next 2 days, I was totally bedridden, super sick.
But the shot is basically
Right.
an injected flu.
And so but that's the only time I've ever actually gotten the flu is when I got a flu shot. And other than that, I've never gotten the flu.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said I don't want to take the flu shot anymore, because every time it just makes me sick, and I've never actually gotten the flu.
So, but at the same time, I think with so much more education now for those who want to learn about how to take care of their bodies and prevent and develop their immune system and be stronger, I'm hoping that people will decide, okay, well, who is more at risk? Which is usually the same people: high blood pressure, hypertension, obesity.
But that's half of America.
Exactly. But I think a lot of people that don't exercise and all that stuff. So I think people will, if anything comes out of this, is people basically realizing, okay, well, I need to take care of my body and make it a little stronger, so that when there's a little bump on the road, my car is not going to fall apart. It'll survive. It'll be a bump on the road, but it continues to work. So
that gets into a different...
Yeah, it's a different discussion, but I think
that's like the argument that while it's harsh, but I agree with, as far as, or not necessarily agree with, but I think is true, is that, like, if you look at healthcare is such a huge topic in the U.S., and there's many people who argue, well, healthcare would be much less of a burden in the U.S. if people just took care of themselves. And the reason why we have such a massive healthcare burden in the U.S. is because far majority of people are just out of shape and in poor health. And the number one thing you can do, forget about healthcare reform and all of that. Not saying that we don't need it, but is on an individual basis is before you start complaining about healthcare reform, how about you make sure you're in good health first?
Right. No, that's
and people don't like hearing that.
No, I know.
It's insensitive.
But it's the truth. True. It's the truth. I mean,
why don't we? Nobody has a problem saying, "Oh, that person smoked and now they have shitty lungs." Nobody has a problem. You know that. But if someone eats garbage their whole life and then they're obese and have heart disease, then it's a different story.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That I'm hoping that people will be more self-conscious and realize, okay, yeah, I know, because most of the people that are now out of shape, they used to be in better shape. Some of them. And then they just kind of let it go. So I think
but it's easy to be in shape when you're young.
No, but not just when you're young. I mean, young adults are usually in better shape, and then they know. How many times you go into a conversation where, I mean, at least myself, I'm definitely older, and I run into friends that you see them gaining a few pounds every year, and they all start. Oh, I used to do this, I used to do that. Why you stop? Your life is the same. Your job is the same. It's just you stop because you stopped. No excuse. Well, you stopped contributing to your health account in your life.
What I think it is too is that a lot of people, when you're younger, your body can get away with eating poorly, drinking,
whatever it is,
lack of exercise, and because your metabolism is so fast, maybe when you're 20,
like
you get away with it. By the time you're 40,
yes, of course,
you can't keep.
You have a new machine, and it goes like great, and then when the machine is older and more worn out, you need to take care of the machine more.
Like lots of people play sports when they're younger. Yes. And then they don't, so they lose all that activity.
Right. But I'm talking people that get into their 30s and 40s and 50s, and then you start getting into the more iffy age where you have either you conserve your health within your age group or you start dropping off. And then I know a lot of friends that used to do a lot of active exercise, and then they just stopped because they just basically didn't have the drive. It's not because of it's just basically that you became lazy. I mean, it's just laziness.
Yeah, of course.
Because they spend 4 hours watching Netflix or doing this or sitting in a bar or happy hour or this or that, and they do zero exercise.
And diet is a huge part too.
Right,
it's
right.
Not
So,
just the
but
exercise.
let's just leave the. We're kind of deviating a little bit, but so we started this thinking.
To respond to you, do you really think people are gonna switch and be super healthy now? You think that's
I think some people, I already know,
because it was already pretty obvious. I mean, we already had epidemics as far as heart disease and cancer and all types of things and diabetes beforehand. You think this is going to make people change?
Some people will. I mean, we know that how long will it last? I don't know. It's the same thing with all these New Year resolutions. So you see the gyms on January totally packed, and come February, March, they're half empty again because all those resolutions.
They're totally empty.
Yeah, now they're totally empty. But look at the thing. I mean, you and I were looking at exercise equipment. It's sold out everywhere.
Yeah.
So obviously a lot of people, aside from buying toilet paper, by the way, they're buying weights and exercise equipment
But do
for
you
their
think
house.
that's because
Who are these people? Are these people?
I think first of all, I think a lot of them are just people who normally go to the gym and now they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if you have whatever, I have no idea what percent of the population goes to the gym. Let's say 20% of the population goes to the gym, and all of a sudden none of them can go to the gym.
Yeah, they all buying stuff.
And they
Yeah.
all buy stuff. That's a massive spike in demand. Now, how many people weren't working out at all or working out very little and now decided to get home equipment? I don't know.
But at the same time, you see now with the confinement in all the major cities, you see a lot of people that are walking, jogging,
of
running. Are those people also people that used to go to a gym, or are people that are saying, "Hey, I heard that exercise is better. I'm gonna just move my ass and just go around the block at least"?
Both.
A combination of both, exactly. So I think there's more conscious now.
I
I
hope so.
I know
you're
even
right. I do hope you're right.
I know even people that are at home that they can't even go out and they are walking within their house, tracking their with their watches or their phones their steps and saying, "I've done 10,000 steps," and this is a little 100 square foot apartment, and they just go around.
100 square foot.
Huh?
100 square foot. Probably a little bigger.
I don't know. I mean, like very, very.
I know what you
actually, a 100 square meter, probably more like 400. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is a one little studio apartment where they just go in circles and they're trying to do like, you
No,
know,
of course. Yeah, I
5,000
know
steps, 10,000 steps, because they realize that they say, hey, one thing you can do is exercise a little more. And keep in mind, people that don't exercise and they see how their body is deteriorating for that, they're conscious of that.
Oh, of course.
They know it.
No,
They
of
just decide not
course.
to do anything about it. And now that they're seeing people that they know being affected, infected, dying, or anywhere in between, they're saying, maybe this is a sign that I need to start getting myself in a better shape. So how many people will do that? I know a lot of people will do it and are already doing it. How many
I
people
hope they
will
sustain
How
it,
many
though.
people will forget? It's like I say
Because
always.
health is a
I always make the
That's the
analogy of
thing.
the being pulled over, or now when a cop is
Right, like, I mean,
behind you in the freeway.
health
So
is a lifelong thing. It's not
it's
something
an
you do
investment,
for
of
6
course.
months.
It's like everything else. Yeah, you don't get out of shape in 2 months, and you don't
Right.
get in shape in
one,
2 months.
One donut isn't going to kill you, but also one salad in the middle of bad food isn't going to make you healthy.
Exactly. So we'll see how it lasts. But
All right.
I think there's going to be a lot of transitions, and we still don't know. I'm very, very, very curious about how the world in general, not just the U.S. and all that stuff, but how the world will react to reopening the economy and all that stuff. Because on getting back to the normal, I mean, what normal is, because it's just different. I mean, a lot of families say, I don't want my kids to go back to school. I know my kid is in good shape and I keep him healthy, but I don't know the kid next door or whatever. Right. And everybody thinks the same thing. Nobody goes back to school.
Oh, I think homeschooling will grow too.
Yeah,
a lot.
everything. Colleges, universities.
And online school too.
A lot of things are changing now. I mean, you see students that pay tuition and they're trying to get a refund.
Oh,
And colleges are saying,
one of my hopes.
oh my God.
I really hope that this is finally the reckoning for major universities that charge ungodly
But you know how
amounts
much
of
universities are lobbying all the stuff. They're gonna have maybe half of the classes on site. Or
No, but I
campus.
hope this is a whole. I didn't want to get into a whole topic on
That's
that.
a whole
Maybe we can save it for next week. I wanted to get to Quibi. We had this on the screen.
I know.
an
Yeah, me
hour.
too. I wanted to jump to Quibi. So this is something that we wanted to discuss also last week, and we missed it. But Quibi launched. We talked about Quibi a while ago. Like when I think it was during the Super Bowl actually, because they spent money with all these commercials, and I don't know if people knew what it was back then when they say I'll be back in a Quibi or something. So obviously you're more familiar with it. I know the gist of it, but you actually downloaded it and been kind of playing with it a little bit. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little rundown of?
Yeah,
what
I
it
mean,
is.
if you don't know what Quibi is, it's basically we have it on the screen. It's not made for a desktop. It's basically specifically made mobile first. It's kind of like a Netflix, but basically everything is 10 minutes or less. All the shows can be watched vertically or horizontally. And so they're filmed in the same way, so you can swap back and forth kind of seamlessly. And that's kind of the unique thing. Basically, everything is less than 10 minutes, and it can be watched vertically or horizontally. That's their whole thing, and it's targeted at the younger people.
Is that right? I mean, because I was listening that there's shows that.
I mean, they're targeting everyone, but they specifically are targeting what they said are like millennials and Gen Z. So my review of it, is that what we want?
But the videos are actually, this is not like a TikTok, this is not a Snapchat or anything. These are actually produced videos. I mean,
Yes, it's
created
produced videos.
by. It's almost like a.
Yeah, no, it's like a.
It's like a Netflix
the
with
thing
a 10-minute
that I
limit
describe it
per
as
show.
is it's a higher production value YouTube. As far as like the
No,
type
but
of
YouTube is user generated
no,
content.
but I mean as far as, to me, the videos, and I'm going to get into my kind of review so far, are very YouTube-esque, just higher production value, basically. And they even have a lot of YouTube and TikTok and people from there. But yes, it's not user-generated, no. It's all
Right. So
created.
to me, a better analogy, I'm trying to understand myself, is more like almost like a Netflix.
It's just all original content. That's all it is. It's like Netflix. It's all original
It's all
content.
original content.
Yeah.
The premise is that they have shows that have
Their whole
episodes
premise
and
is
series and all that.
basically- Their whole premise is just basically
10 minutes.
high quality original content that shows are 10 minutes or less.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
So right now they have two pricing models that
Yeah.
are.
Anybody can try. If you want to download it, it's 90 days free for everybody right now. But yeah, they have two pricing models. I think it's $5 or $6 a month, and then if you want no ads, it's $8 a month or something like that. So it does have ads. Not impressed so far. It's very. It gives me very like MTV VH1 vibes as far as the type of content that it has. And that's fine. Obviously, that has its audience, but basically, to me, they're competing with YouTube. Is their biggest competitor?
Is that it? I mean, are they competing with more with because
No, I think they're competing with YouTube because, I mean, obviously when you're in video streaming, you're competing with lots of people, but the closest direct competitor I would say is YouTube. Like, I don't think there's so much competing with Netflix because Netflix has like hour-long shows and really serious stuff, or movies or whatever, that when you watch Netflix, you really sit down to watch it. This is like, everything is like, most of their shows are like 5, 6, 7 minutes. So now that is much more competing with YouTube than they're competing with Netflix. And to me, when I watch this, I've watched a few of the shows. We have some of them up now. Like, I watched this one. I watched one episode. I couldn't watch more. It was really bad. Chrissy Teigen's Court, or whatever they call it. Chrissy's Court.
Yeah.
It's basically Chrissy Teigen, who, if you don't know who that is, that's John Legend's wife. And basically, it's like Judge Judy, but she's the judge instead of Judge Judy. It was bad, honestly. I'm not a big fan of Judge Judy. I get the appeal of those shows. It's whatever. But I don't know. Personally, I just didn't like the show. It was really like.
So not even if you saw just like 7 minutes.
It was literally 6 minutes, and like 4 minutes in, I stopped watching because I was so bored. Okay, so I'll give the good parts first. The good parts, the UI is not bad. How they basically, there's some certain features. Can you pull up? I guess you have the desktop, because I have it on my phone. But the UI is not bad. As far as everyone download it. It's free for 90 days. Give it a shot. Maybe you like it. But basically, when you're scrolling through, I kind of like how they have it. They don't do autoplay previews, which is nice. I hate that. I hate that so much on Netflix and other streaming platforms that autoplay things. They don't do that, so that's good. When you're holding if you're watching it vertically, the play bar. So I don't know how you say that. Like, you know how on YouTube you have a bar with the progress bar, the play button, all that.
Yeah.
It's vertical instead of horizontal.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
They have, if you want to listen without audio and subtitles, you can just kind of hold the screen and it'll switch to subtitles. So there's some good UX. I will say that. Yeah. It's a decently designed app. There's also some bugs, some things that are a little annoying, but it just was released.
We need to clarify that the founder of this is Jeffrey Katzenberg.
It's the two co-founders. So you have Meg Whitman.
Meg Whitman is the CEO. And then,
well, they're co-founders. It's Meg Whitman. She's the CEO. She used to be the CEO of HP. Katzenberg used to be the CEO of Paramount and head of Disney Studios back in the day.
Right. So, I mean, they both are heavy hitters and they have a lot of experience. And they obviously have a lot of investor power behind them, too.
Right.
So,
that's why they raised
so it's not like two guys that just came out of the garage with coming up with this application.
Right. Well, that was my other argument. That was basically, I said, okay, forget about who made this. if it wasn't those two people who are like heavy hitters, okay, if this was just two other random founders who raised a bunch of money from VCs, I think people would be absolutely trashing this with the amount of money they raised. Because, like I said, the UX is good. There's some things I don't really like about the UX. There's some bugs, but they just launched, so I'll give them slack. They have some new things that I like.
Well, they have already 1.7 million downloads. Obviously, it's the free
But that's
version.
not that much, honestly. I mean, 1.7 million when you have a 90-day free trial.
Yeah.
How many of those?
But they were
convert?
actually comparing in downloads with Disney Plus and subscribers. And
Yeah, but
things
Disney
like that.
Plus blows them out of the water. Disney Plus passed
Obviously,
50
but
million.
obviously, I mean, but I'm just saying that when you are in the same line, the same sentence as Disney Plus, as far as
I don't think they are in the same sentence.
Well, they
as
were
Disney Plus.
they were not. But as far as subscribers, downloads, and things like that, I was just listening to a different podcast this morning, and they were very excited about the number of downloads. Like you said, it's a 90-day free
Yeah,
trial.
but what are
so
they going
we'll
to
see.
say? What is Quibi going to say? We just launched and we're really
No,
disappointed.
but I mean the numbers are there. 1.7 million downloads when they just launched really like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I forgot what they did.
Yeah, but 1.7 million downloads when
We'll
you
see how
spent
many become-
over $1 billion. I don't know if that's that good.
We'll see how many of those become paid subscriptions versus the free 90 days tested and take off.
So, okay, first of all, I'm shocked at how little programming they have. They have like very few shows. I think when they launched, they had like 15, and now they've added a few shows, but I still don't think they even have like 30 shows left, which is shocking. Especially because keep in mind, all the shows are like. Oh, you're gonna count them all here?
I don't know how many they have, but they probably have. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can load more. I mean, they were talking about adding. Yeah, that's the end. So they have about between 25 and 30
Yeah,
shows.
but
now.
keep in mind, all the episodes are like 5-10 minutes.
Right.
So really, I think someone did the math. I saw it on Twitter, and there's like 12 hours of content on the whole thing right now.
Yeah.
And it's like that's
Well,
it.
it's consumed very rapidly, obviously, especially these days.
Right. Like basically someone said you could watch everything in 12
you can
hours.
binge watch this whole thing. Yeah.
Right. It's like people could watch. That's like a season of an Netflix
But their
show.
goal is to get content creators and developers and directors and producers that has shows that were not approved by other major studios or whatever, saying, okay, we're going to have the shows posted here. And then
Yeah, but maybe there's a reason why they weren't approved.
the premise is that they own, well, in some cases, I don't want to get into potential issues or whatever, but the premise is that when the shows go here, they still own all the rights to the shows and everything, and then they can still market the shows elsewhere. So it's like a little avenue for creators that have their shows vetted or something to be able to expose them wherever. Like you go to Netflix with a show and they say, oh, but they have a pretty much higher bar. Here you can put a little, almost like a premiere or preview episode or something, and then create like a little mini series, and then another major studio may say, oh, we like that concept, and then they make like a whole 1 hour show or something. So that was the premise, that some people may like it, but
Okay, well, to continue with my review, okay, so on the user experience side, they have some unique things. I like it. I think they've done some cool things with that. There's improvements that definitely could be made, but it's pretty good so far. So I'll give them credit on that side. But I will say, of the two things that basically this app needs, which is great content and great user experience, the user experience matters much less. Because if you have a clunky UX, but the content is amazing, it doesn't matter. People will watch anyways. But if you have, I don't want to say shitty, but if you have mediocre content, which I think they have, it doesn't matter. Because here's the thing. If you want to scroll back up on the shows, I downloaded it. I didn't look at anybody's review. I downloaded it on the first day as soon as it came out. I didn't look at anybody's review. I wanted to give it an honest, real trial of the show and really of the platform and give it a shot. And I watched like 5 or 6 different shows, and I just wasn't impressed. The only one that I liked, but that's because it's not even something new, and it's fine, but it's nothing special, was Punked. Which used to be a show on MTV, and it's punked, it's punked. If anybody's watched it, it's basically pranking like celebrities and stuff. It's fine. It's exactly what you expect. It's basically like 6-7 minute prank videos. It's fine. It's entertaining. It's whatever. But nothing special. It wouldn't be like an anchor for the platform,
right?
But it's fine. But I will say, like I said, when they're competing with YouTube, there's a million prank channels on YouTube who do all these things. The only difference is these guys have bigger names that they prank and bigger production budgets when they do these pranks. So it's a little more elaborate. But so that show's fine. I watched, like I said, the Chrissy Teigen show. I didn't like it at all. Maybe it's not for me, whatever. Some of the other shows, this comedy, Agua Donkeys or whatever, I didn't think it was funny at all. It's like these two pool boys that are like grown men and they're kind of like losers, and I don't know. I personally didn't think it was funny at all. Keep going. Fierce Queens, which is basically Reese Witherspoon narrating over these cheetahs. It was okay, but it was like I've seen nature documentaries done 10 times better. In my opinion, it was like, okay, whatever. Keep scrolling down. Let's see, what else did I watch? I didn't watch this one, the I Promise with LeBron. I wasn't that interested. It's basically like a press run for LeBron. The only show that I thought was actually unique and I thought might be decent and that could be a real franchise was this one right here. Murder House Flip. This is the only show that I said, okay, that's actually a good, unique idea I've never seen before.
Right.
They basically took crime, which people love crime, and then they took house flipping, which is another big thing. They basically took HGTV and like a crime show and combined it, and they basically take a house where
like
someone was murdered.
Law and Order and HGTV together.
Yes. So they took a house where someone was murdered, and then they flip it and try to sell it.
Right.
I thought it was a unique concept and idea,
that's exactly
and I liked
the point.
it.
Whoever came up with the concept now has a 6, 7, 8 minute show, and then maybe they make it a series, so the guy still owns the show. So it's probably a good platform for some people.
So I think of all the shows, I thought that was their best one as far as originality and something I haven't seen before. I thought it was good. They took two concepts that people love and combined them. But yeah, I mean, overall, and then you have Punk'd there. Overall, though, the problem with
I think they'll come with more shows. Obviously,
yeah, they will come with more shows, but it's really a hit-driven game, and they definitely don't have a hit. And like I said, the problem is that they're charging $5 a month for content that honestly I think is done better on YouTube for free. Because there's a big thing that I totally disagree with that so many media execs I think don't understand yet, and that higher production value does not mean higher production quality. Okay, right. Because just because they have big crews and spend a bunch of money on a production, that doesn't mean it's more entertaining.
Right.
And I'm of the generation of Gen Z where basically everybody watches YouTube. Basically, two things that everybody watches are YouTube and Netflix that are my age. And I see much more entertaining content on YouTube than I've seen on here. And I gave it a real honest shot. I'm the perfect demo audience. The other thing is the vertical versus horizontal thing. At first I was watching everything vertical because I said, okay, it's like meant to be vertical. But then I was like, well, I'm just going to watch it horizontal because it's wider.
Right.
And it was kind of gimmicky, honestly. I ended up watching everything horizontally because you get to see more.
Yeah, but it gives you the option of this. So I have a couple more questions for you, but we'll get to those after this little break. Welcome back. I'm here with David, and we were just talking about Quibi, who launched the company that just launched their app, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, which the timing is a little bit...
I think the timing was good. I actually thought that they should have pushed up the launch as soon as the quarantine started happening.
They had the timing. I mean, they have the launch already, that date set. That's why they started advertising so heavily during the Super Bowl, which was at the first weekend in February. And then obviously with the coronavirus, they were saying, okay, should we push it back or not? But obviously with, more people are home, and they said, okay, well, people are going to be hungry for more content, they decide to continue. Yeah. So even though that means that they also have more competition. But
so one thing I want to...
Yes, I do have a question. You were talking about comparing mostly the audience for Quibi and YouTube and saying, okay, YouTube offers that. But YouTube has their own creators studio where developers or creators actually put their shows on YouTube and all that. Do you think this will maybe drive some of those creators to Quibi saying, hey, we want to be more in this kind of exclusive platform instead of being lost in a sea of thousands and millions of other videos?
No. Big YouTubers? No, definitely not. Why would they do that? Because Quibi is closed. It's not open to they have no control. No. But what I said that Quibi should do, I think a few months ago when we first talked about them, and I still think that they should do now, is basically, especially because who's their target audience? It's like young people. Okay, well, they're paying lots of celebrities. They have like, Reese Witherspoon and LeBron and Chance the Rapper and all these people. But to me, if I was Quibi, what I would do, those people, maybe they're more famous, but they don't have the pull that YouTubers do on content. And if I were them, instead of writing big checks to Reese Witherspoon, I would write a big check to famous YouTubers, whoever it may be, David Dobrik, whatever, and say, okay, make a show on Quibi. That's how you get people to come.
Do you think?
And then promote it through your other channels.
Do you think, or do you know if any of these celebrities are part investors too, or they are doing some kind of?
I don't know if they're part investors. I know that Quibi raised a ton of money and basically was using that to write massive checks to people, basically, and basically paying all these people. I don't know how many of them are equity partners or not, but if I was Quibi, if I have all this money, instead of giving it to like old school celebrities, because that's not my target demo. I don't know how many 19-year-olds really care about Reese Witherspoon. Maybe they do, but I don't think she definitely doesn't have the pull of big YouTuber. She just doesn't. And that's how you get them on the platform. You give them full creative control, but with because the only thing is that most YouTubers, almost all YouTubers don't have big production budgets because obviously they're just YouTubers, and so they don't have casts and crew and all that stuff. If they were able to get a crew and have bigger productions and then kind of have creative control but just do what they do on YouTube but 10 times bigger because they have the budget and put it on Quibi, that's how you could pull people in. That's what I would do if I were them. That's where I think their flaw in the strategy is that they're trying to do all these shows. They're trying to make like, because some of these shows are very almost Netflix-ish, where it's like a real serious drama, but it's like 7 minutes. It's like, do you really get hooked into a show like that in 7 minutes?
I think what we're trying to do is find this, like I think Jeffrey was saying, Katzenberg was saying in that previous interview that I listened to, that they can see the heat map or when the spikes are in content streaming and downloads, and they said it was early in the morning, and obviously like people are sort of work these days, so it kind of seems to me that people are looking for this content that they can consume in a short time, maybe in like you said, in 8 to 10 minute blocks, doing a commute or doing maybe they are preparing breakfast, I don't know, or maybe in the evening when they're doing something else, but it's not something they need to be in front of a TV for like half hour to an hour if it's a Netflix show, So you have a little time to say, hey, I have like 5-10 minutes.
Right, and that's
like
where
the famous commercial when you say I do it in a Quibi, like saying, okay, I have 6 minutes to kill, I'm going to watch one episode.
But that's where YouTubers shine. Most YouTubers make 5 to 15 minute videos. That's their whole thing, and they have millions of fans. That's where they shine. So why not just say, okay, you have full creative control, or not full, they would never do that. I know big studios don't like to do that, but you have majority creative control and you have this big budget behind you, so you can do whatever you want to normally do, but just amplified 10 times bigger. And then we're going to put it on Quibi, and you can only watch it on Quibi.
Right.
I promise you they would pull in way more. 1.7 million, they could have 17 million people signed up.
Well, maybe, now. I don't know. Time will tell. It's too soon, and we'll see.
Quibi execs, if you're listening to this, that's what you should do. When you do it and it succeeds and you're making millions, I will wait for my royalty check. Thank you very much.
Well, but just to recap or to sum it up at the end, where do you see Quibi in the next 6 months? Much more content.
Obviously, I'm sure they have a ton more content coming out. I don't know. We'll see.
Obviously, their pricing, the model is obviously subscription model and commercials.
That we'll find out 3 months from now is how many people actually subscribe. Because, you have a 90-day free trial, and maybe, especially now where people are starved for content and they see this new platform and they've spent a ridiculous amount of money on ads too. So that's how they got 1.7 million people. But what percentage of those people are going to subscribe?
To me now, the streaming, you and I are very fans of the what we call the streaming video wars and stuff. And right now there's so many choices. Like for me, for example, when I have only like 6-7 minutes, and I find myself many times like, okay, in between this, I don't want to get into a heavy show or even a podcast or something, and I watch some quickly. Usually I go to, obviously not now, but I go to sports highlights or something that I can see in 5-6 minutes, or these highlights from this game or this other thing. So now you have so many options in this little, like you said, between the YouTube little snippets or the sports highlights on ESPN or Disney or whatever, that now you have one more where you have actually episodes or things like that. So I don't know. It's kind of...
Right. That's why I said it really is. At the end of the day, entertainment is a hits-driven game. You have to have the hits. If you don't have those big hits, in the same way, look at Netflix. What built Netflix? Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, all those shows that they had at the beginning that basically were big hits that it was like, oh, you got to watch this. That's what drove it. Look at HBO. Look at what happened when Game of Thrones ended. Did you see their subscriber drop off? There was a famous graph that basically showed all these people who subscribed to watch Game of Thrones, and as soon as it was over, a ton of people unsubscribed.
Showtime with different shows too.
Right. It's a hits-driven game. We never had a Showtime subscription until Billions came out, and now we do. And guess what? If Billions ends, we'll probably cancel that subscription too. Right? It's a hits-driven game at the end of the day.
Right.
And it's no different for Quibi. So they need hits. If they can have a show that basically is the same as like Tiger King for Netflix, where it was like everybody's talking about it, everybody's watching it, you got to watch this, then that's how they win. But if they can't do that, then they lose. I mean, it's pretty simple at the end of the day.
All right, well, time will tell. I do have another couple questions for you. This is different. So Quibi is over, but you actually sent our weekly e-commerce email, and I wanted to ask you about the Amazon fees or rates, and that just changed out of the blue. And I think a lot of people may have missed.
Not the seller fees, but the affiliate fees.
Affiliates, yeah.
Which literally... effective immediately, overnight. A lot of the fees, so they have basically, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Amazon has their affiliate program, which it used to be just lots of like entrepreneurs and like YouTubers and other people.
I have an affiliate. We have an affiliate as a company.
Right. They used to, or like bloggers used to use it for just extra passive income. Remember when passive income was a big deal? Basically, all it is you get a custom link, you recommend a product. If people buy it, then you get a cut. But now it's used by major organizations, especially in media and publishing. So, for example, BuzzFeed makes a ton of money through affiliates now. That's actually... BuzzFeed has had tremendous revenue growth over the last 2 years, and it's because they shifted away from purely ads-based to more affiliate-based.
Affiliate and reviews and product reviews and comments.
New York Times makes a ton of money. Wirecutter, which is owned by... is it New York Times? Who owns Wirecutter?
Wirecutter? I don't know.
I think it's New York Times. Is it New York Times?
Maybe, yeah.
I forget. Someone. Anyways.
The Verge too.
The Verge. Like, a lot of these companies make a ton of money through basically reviewing and recommending products, and then when you are on their website, buying with their affiliate link. And so what Amazon did basically this week, was they had different rates, but most of the rates were somewhere between 6, 7, 8 to 10% commission on various products, depending on the product category. Most products. So if you're Wirecutter, and basically, like, Wirecutter is a good example. If you don't know Wirecutter, they're one of the biggest tech review, not even just tech review, like product review sites. Right. They do really, really thorough, great reviews. I go to them whenever I'm looking to like make a purchase decision. And they make almost all their money through referrals. And obviously, they have referrals with other websites, but the majority is Amazon because most people just want to buy it on Amazon. They don't want to buy elsewhere. And so if you're Wirecutter and you're used to getting 8, 10% commission, Amazon just cut commissions across the board down to 3%.
I know.
And they cut grocery, which is very low margin, down to 1%. So basically, if you're Wirecutter and you're used to getting 8, 10% commission, now you're getting 3. Their revenues just got slashed by 2/3.
Right. So in other words, if I'm reading an article on the on their website and they're reviewing a product or something that is like $50 or something, and I end up buying it, I will get the Wirecutter will get $5, $4 or $5 commission.
If you're Wirecutter, you're used to this 10% commission, right? And now it's 3. That's a 70% cut in your revenue. I mean,
Right.
that basically could put Wirecutter out of business, and a lot of these companies.
It almost loses the incentive to even promote those products because by the time you do all the work and put in the links and all that stuff, it's just not.
Well,
I don't think it's a feasible business model for them to keep doing that. As
well,
the
it was
main-
a great business model. I mean, they were very successful. It's really hard to build a profitable media company these days that's not subscription based, and
Right.
they were able to do it. And other companies were, like I said, like BuzzFeed was able to make a lot of money doing that too. And now that's totally gone. I mean, it's actually pretty crazy how Amazon did that. And basically, Amazon said, we have enough demand, we make enough money that we're just giving you free money. Like, people are going to buy through us anyways.
Like, we don't need you to provide
Basically,
us with traffic.
Right. They said, okay, if you recommend a certain product, they say, we know most people are just going to buy it through us anyways. So instead of giving you 10%, we're just going to give you 3%. We don't need you.
Right.
And they just did that like that. And that's kind of going back to our whole thing of like, this is why you don't want to rely on
Right.
major
Right.
companies like Amazon or Google or whoever, because they don't care.
Well,
They
but that's the
don't
same
care.
thing,
They'll
like-
cut you off like
Yeah,
that.
it's like Google AdSense. I mean, we have our own experience with that where we were having a number of websites with AdSense revenue, and then one day they banned their account. They canceled it this is like many years ago, but it's like they give you no explanation. It's like, and you try to get an explanation saying, hey, I don't know what we did.
Or
I
even
mean,
YouTubers. I mean, it happens all the time with YouTubers. Where
Right.
they just get one strike, one whatever, or their content's not deemed family friendly, whatever, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
their money just drops
you
like
lose
that.
control, which is one of the things that we always tell our clients. You want to have multiple channels, sources of revenue, different channels, but you always want to have control. So when one of them that you don't control cuts you off, yeah, okay, it's a little stream of revenue that you lose, and you can adapt and get something else, but you never lose your main revenue. So it happened before with Facebook when they were basically with the famous likes and followers and all that stuff, and major corporations and major companies like Nike had 1 million followers and they were seeing everything, and then the organic impressions or organic views basically was down to like 5%, 3%, and all of a sudden,
Right. I mean, it's
They
even
all
happening on
disappear.
Instagram too.
right, exactly.
I mean, you can see, I see
Exactly.
it across the board on tons of, especially they do it to business accounts.
it's becoming more of a pay-to-play model.
Right. They do it to
Where-
business accounts because they want
Right.
you to spend money on ads.
Right.
Where Instagram used to be pretty good for organic reach. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you get a following on Instagram, you used to be able to reach a lot of them. Now, it's not as bad as Facebook, but really, I mean, it's only like from what I've seen is like 8 to 10%. So whatever followers you have, only 8 to 10% of them are actually going to see your organic posts, where it used to be like 40%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally dropped off, and it keeps going down. And obviously, that was predicted because they did the same thing with Facebook. Facebook now, it's like 1%.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's very limited. Yeah.
But
All right,
yeah,
David.
I mean, I just think it's another sign of like, this is why you don't rely on other, especially big companies like that who don't give a shit about you.
Right. All right, buddy. We've been talking for almost an hour and a half. I'm sure we have other things going on now. So, but I do want to, you know what? I actually think it's been a while since we talked about streaming stuff, and I'm very curious about TikTok too, which I'm not very familiar with, but you are. Snapchat, I don't know exactly how they're doing now as far as competing with all these streaming video sources and all that. So why don't we leave that for the next week, in addition to other topics that we didn't get to, but I think it's been good. It's been good. Hopefully next week we'll have more clarification on the reopening of the country or how that's going to work. And obviously every week we're closer to the end of this, whatever the end is. So I'm always optimistic. Any final words for you, David?
No, stay safe. Hey, give Quibi a shot. I'd love to hear what people say.
Yeah, I mean, let us know what you think. I mean, they've added more content now. So
I don't like to root against anybody. Okay, I don't want to come off as negative, but I have to be honest. Especially when you've raised billions and are spending billions, you know, there's critique that comes with that. And like I said, I give my strategies. I'll wait for my royalty checks.
Either
to
way,
come
at the
in.
end of the day, as we know, it's very hard to compete with the big monsters like the Facebooks, the Googles, the obviously YouTube and all those. So I actually root for companies like this that have private investor money to see they can make it. But we'll see. You know.
We'll see.
So anyways, that's it for today. Thank you for watching or listening, whatever medium you use, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.
See ya.